Hey, Stacey David here with the Tales of a Gearhead podcast. Now, what is this? Well, it's a podcast that covers everything automotive, everything mechanical, everything that's just cool about the automotive lifestyle. And since that's just about everything, you're going to love it.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Cornwell Tools.
Let's get rolling. Well, we have a special treat for you today on the podcast. I've got a good friend of mine and a hot rod legend. We got Skip Walls here from LOKAR. Skip has been around a long time, and he has been building hot rods since he was a kid. And if you've never checked out some of the products at LOKAR, you need to do it because they have pretty much anything that you need as far as cables and brackets and springs and all kinds of stuff. So, Skip, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your background a little bit. You grew up in California, right?
Yep.
So tell me how you got into hot rodding.
Well, I guess I started about 8 years old. I drove quarter midgets.
So you were driving quarter midgets at 8?
Yes.
Nice.
I drove them until I got too big for them.
Yeah.
And I played around with boats.
Yeah.
But, of course, at 15, I had my first car as a 32 Ford truck.
32 Ford truck. So, and now I've noticed with you, you've got a lot of 30s cars. So 32s, 33s, 34s, that's kind of the sweet spot for you, right?
It was mostly 32s.
Yeah.
Till later on, I got me a 34, and I kind of like that.
Yeah. So what's your favorite? If you had to pick between a 32 and a 34, what would it be?
32.
And what body style?
3-window.
Now, why is that?
Just always liked it.
Really?
When I was a kid, I raised a lot of hell in it. Got in a lot of trouble in it, too.
Yeah. Okay, so if you were to build the perfect 32 for you, what would it be? What motor would be in it? What transmission? I know it's a hard thought.
Yeah, because I'm building a 33 coupe right now with a LS 409 in it.
Okay.
With a 5-speed.
Now, when you say an LS 409, clarify what that is, because you're using some of LOKAR's products on
LS3 with it looks like a 409.
Yeah.
It's got 409 valve covers. It look like, when you look at the motor, it looks just like a 409.
Yeah.
Like my Chevelle, if you look under the hood of it, we took out the 396. If you don't sit there and stare at it very long, it looks just like a 396,
Yeah.
375 motor.
Yeah.
But runs a lot better, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that a little bit because, when the LS engine came out, it's a fantastic engine, and so was the Coyote and the late model Hemi. But the LS has just taken off as the engine swap engine. So obviously, they're not the most attractive looking engines for stock. They got the coil packs and all that stuff on it. So you guys have gone a long ways into making products that make them look more classic in some of this. Let's talk about that a little bit. Why did you think that was important, and has that been successful for you guys?
It's doing pretty good. I mean, I think it needs more exposure.
Yeah.
But it looks like a big block or a early Corvette. We got the 57 through 62 injection, 63 through 65 injection, also the tri-power big block.
Yeah.
So when you open the hood, it looks like what it should be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an LS. You get the horsepower, durability.
Yeah.
That's what's great about them.
And you notice you don't get those people going, oh, another LS.
Exactly. You can take a 5-point motor and make it still look like what we're talking about. All the stuff bolts on those motors.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of cool about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you open up the hood, it doesn't look like an LS motor.
Yeah.
We got coils and fake distributors with wires and everything where you hide the coil packs.
Yeah.
So then it looks like, the era of car you want to put it in.
Yeah. What when you think of the eras of cars, what is your favorite era? When you think of just hot rods from a certain era, what era do you just kind of gravitate to? Is it 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s?
Well, I like muscle cars later on in my life, but
Okay.
I was mostly from 32 to 40.
Yeah.
I've had 32s and 44s.
Oh, yeah.
When I was growing up. I think my third car was a 44 coupe.
So it sounds like a lot of Fords. Now, you ever done many Chevy bodies?
Not much.
Yeah, Chevy engines.
I've owned a few, but then I got into Corvettes too.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a whole nother deal.
Those were in 60s.
What's your favorite Corvette body style?
63 through 7.
Yeah.
63 mainly.
Yeah.
Because of the window.
You like that split window, huh?
I used to have to take them out for people and put real windows in them. I used to keep the parts, but I didn't keep them long enough because they got worth money.
You know something? I had a buddy that when I was growing up, I worked at a body shop, and the guy had been around long enough, and he told me about that. He said, when 64 came out, he said all these guys were bringing in their 63 split window cars and wanted the rear glass modified so it looked like a newer Vet. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the magic of the 63 Vet is the split rear window.
When I got out of Corvettes, when I thought Corvettes were dying,
Yeah.
back in California, you could buy a automatic 63 for $1,000.
Oh my gosh.
I had actually had a 435 matching number car I was putting back together.
Yeah.
And I thought I better get out of this stuff, so I sold it. But all the parts were those split windows I used to take out.
Yeah.
I didn't throw them away. They got
Really?
worth a lot of money, but I gave all my parts away to a guy that bought my Corvette.
Yeah, that knew that those were going to be valuable. Yeah.
No, he didn't know. He just took them.
He just took them, used them on something else, trailer house.
Probably threw them out. That too.
Yeah, his wife was like, throw that stuff away. That's happened to a lot of people, man. You don't know, and you have no idea it's going to get valuable.
I've been tracking my last Corvette down, actually.
What are you after?
It's a 63 body.
Okay.
It's got all 67 suspension on it. It's got a different kind of a back half on it. I built the car, then I sold it, and then he died. His daughter took it to Washington. I got a friend that knows where it's at now.
You're going to hunt that thing down, are you?
I also know where my old 3 window is, too, when I was a kid.
Okay, so how many cars do you have?
Right now?
Yeah. Oh, look at you, cat. Now, this is on the air, so you need to be careful. How many does Debbie know about?
Oh, she knows about them all. She owns I guess she owns them all now. Outside of race cars,
Outside of race cars. That's a whole nother conversation. Are you still racing? Do you still race some?
I want to this year. Haven't
Yeah.
raced since 2019.
Okay.
I hurt my leg and had a hip change and a knee change, so
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back into it.
Okay, now what kind of race car are you running?
Super Comp, Super Gas, and Top Sportsman.
Okay.
I'll be running 470 Outlaw as soon as the new truck's done.
Nice. And so you're hoping to get out there this year.
That's my plans.
Going to be campaigning under LOKAR?
Yeah.
Nice.
On the Verge, I'll run the Verge Series for 470, 450 Outlaw Dragster. Then I'll run NHRA for Super Comp, Super Gas.
Now, do you have any cars that you're putting together for any of the big car shows, like the Triple Crown of Rotting or anything like that?
No, I'm just building a new 5-window coupe for myself.
Yeah. It's funny how your cars kind of end up on the cover of magazines and stuff, though.
Yeah, we build a lot of them and use them. We used to build them and take them and use them for displays at the shows.
Sure.
We're not doing as many shows we used to because the way things have changed.
Yeah.
Magazines all died and everything else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we used to use one. Some of them we used up as much as 5 years.
Yeah.
Semen everywhere.
Yeah.
We haven't been building any cars fat in the last few years. Last 2 cars with my wife's 40 and her Camaro.
Yeah.
I call it hers because it ended up being hers.
Yeah. You know, I tell you what, you brought up a really interesting point there. A lot of people are wondering about this, just where this industry is going. And, you know, because hot rodding and cars will always be popular. It's just that the industry changes. So how do you keep up with that? And how do you keep a finger on that? Where do you see it going? And what's the plans
Right
for
now,
LOKAR?
it seems to be going to trucks. Mm-hmm. A lot of trucks.
Yeah, and I love that.
And I guess the Jeep world's growing, but it depends on what part you're in.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of hard to figure out right now.
Yeah, I've noticed a real change. You know, when I was growing up, obviously I grew up as a 4-wheel drive Jeep guy,
Right.
that kind of stuff. And if you didn't put big tires and take your Jeep out and get it muddy and stuff, you're pretty much a sissy.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Side by sides took that over.
Oh yeah, well they did, and now most of the Jeeps that people are building are what people call mall cruisers. You know, they don't ever take them off road; they just have kind of the look. Well, you can't argue with that, you know, that market because there's a lot of money, a lot of people doing that.
It's kind of like I said about hot rodding.
Yes.
If you take your Jeep and modify it, you're making it your hot rod.
Yes.
Whether it's a Jeep, they like that. I don't know if they like that term, but that's what it is.
It's what it is.
But I mean, like you call the mall crawlers.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, big wheels and tires on it, and then they put other things on it. you
yeah,
know?
and it supports the aftermarket.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we have to be careful that we don't portray our likes and dislikes on somebody else's car.
Yeah, I mean, they do things that
Sure.
I wouldn't do because
Sure.
that's not what I like. But it's not what I like.
Yeah.
It's what you like.
Exactly.
That's what I say about hot rods and the performance industry. It's what you want to do to your car. Don't judge what other people do to their car.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we'd all be driving Henry Ford black cars.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I try to tell people. People bitch about a guy having a mauve or almost a pink car.
Yeah.
But that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he could have went to the dealership, bought anything he wants. Anybody can do that.
Yep.
You can buy a Ferrari, it'd be red.
Yeah, exactly.
Henry Ford, at least Ferrari kept it all red.
Oh, yeah.
Henry Ford had to finally change colors.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. We have to be really careful that's how fads get started.
Sure.
It's like, okay, everybody's going to do, as we were talking with Brian, going to do the tweed interior. And now everybody's got a tweed interior, and it becomes the thing. And if you step out of that, all of a sudden you're like, well, why aren't you following along with the rest of us? So
today, if you got a car with tweed interior, you know it's built in the early 80s
Yeah,
and
exactly.
late 70s.
And now everybody wants to see those again. It's kind of like everybody had to have a tunnel ram at one time. And, of course, those were cool. Didn't run with a hood. I actually had one that
Put
didn't
holes
run
in
bad.
hoods.
Yeah. You just wanted something sticking out of the hood. And I like that. Okay, let me
You
ask
might
you.
not be old enough to know this, but guys took trash cans, like tapered trash cans,
Yeah.
and stuck them through their hood of their cars in the 60s.
Really?
Yeah.
To make it look like a blow. Well, that
I
was.
thought about it once, but never did it.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't cut the hole in the hood.
Well, I remember the Monkey Mobile that Dean Jeffries
Yeah.
did. That didn't have a real supercharger on it.
No.
It had a carburetor in there. You can look at it and tell. And it was just, he built it for TV, I never got a chance to meet him.
I didn't either. I just knew where his shop was on Hollywood Freeway. You went right by the front door of it.
Yes.
He always had some movie car he was building out there.
Yeah. And one of my favorite cars of that whole era was that Manta Ray that he did. And I think that was the last time I saw that was in the museum down there in Pomona.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know where it's at now, but yeah, he was quite a guy. I'll tell you what, let me ask you this. When it comes to hot rods, I've been asking a lot of people that come on here. If you had to do, now this is your opinion, this is Skip's opinion, of what constitutes a hot rod for you. If you could give me like 3 or 4 ingredients that car or truck has got to have, what would they be?
When you say the words got to have, usually the got to part of a hot rod, first off, you'd have to put wheels and tires on it.
Yeah.
Or it might as well just stay a showroom car.
Okay.
So that'd be probably first.
And probably big wide things on
Well, wide depends on the type of car. You got Pro Touring today, and you got just different variations, like Corvettes. That's all over the place. I mean, depends on if you're doing slalom racing or just driving it. Depends on what you like.
Yeah.
Again, that's back to
Okay.
self-preference. I mean, I think wheels and tires actually gives it a different look.
It's the personality.
And then, of course, would be the exhaust.
Yeah, got to have a sound.
Well, it's got to have a sound. I bought a 33 Roadster off a very nice guy, George Poteet. I took it home. It had a stock 350. And I'll tell you what, I have a friend with a big cam in his cars. I'm embarrassed at a stoplight to shut my car off because it sounds like Grandma's grocery getter.
Compared to his.
So finally I gave up. I did the whole drive line, put big exhaust on it, and I put a big cam in it. Now it sounds like a hot rod.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't sound like a hot rod. It sounded like some old lady's car.
It was a cruiser. It was a
No,
cruiser.
even a cruiser has to have a sound,
I'm with you.
It's like lowrider cars. They got to sound good. I mean,
Yeah.
hot rods in general has got to have a sound.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they really might as well leave it on a showroom.
Yeah. And how about power? They got to have a lot of power.
Well, I mean, everybody wants to put a little power into the hood. If you got a right foot like mine, you want power.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to have some kind of power.
How about paint and appearance? Does paint matter to you?
In some cases, yes. I mean, depends on people like rust. Some people like that.
Yeah.
I mean, some people just don't want paint. Some
Yeah.
people want primer, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Because people are priming even new cars, and that's his hot rod.
Yeah, sure.
In their terms, if it satisfies the person and makes them feel good and it goes fast, that kind of makes hot rod to the person that has it. Now, my opinion on hot rod, I'm more of a old hot rod guy.
Yeah.
So it's got to have horsepower, looks, and everything else.
Okay. Now, the big question. This is the one that is the most controversial. Stick or automatic?
My new car is getting a 5-speed.
So you're a stick guy.
I was,
Yeah.
but when you get old,
Well,
automatics kind of play a
kinda
good
nice.
part.
I tell you what, because I talked to Gene Winfield about this, and he's an automatic guy because he's all about drag racing, and he wants, the consistency of an automatic. And you can't argue with that, but the fun of a stick is the thing for me. And it's really interesting how people will go back and forth. But you're more of a stick guy. If it didn't matter about
Well, I grew up with 409s and 4-speeds and stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
I had 4-speeds when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And, of course, I had LaSalle transmission in my first 32 3-speed, right? I had a bunch of those. So I had sticks all the way, Oh, my 60 Chevy with a 409 had a stick in it too. I think I got into automatics when I bought my El Camino 68, big block car.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'd say that's when I kind of moved in the automatic world.
So what kind of music do you like? When you get in a car and you crank on a song to drive to, what is that song?
Personally, rock and roll music.
Yeah. So what kind? What era?
70s.
70s?
Maybe 80s, yeah.
Yeah. So you like Leonard Skinner and stuff
Of course.
like that?
I like country western music, but
Yeah.
I'm not into the old country western.
Well, you know, the modern country is more like 70s rock.
Exactly.
It's like the
exactly.
Eagles and stuff.
Was it Willie's birthday or what it was on TV the other day when Leonard Skinner was there?
Oh,
And They
yeah.
played the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So you guys have been back in Knoxville how long now?
God, 30 years now.
Wow. You miss California at all? I bet you don't now.
Nope. Every time somebody talks about it, I go out there and I look around. I go where I used to live. I'm glad I left.
Yeah, the South is really nice. We loved it. I've been back here forever.
It seemed like what I was doing for my business, it really helped it too. 'Cause
Oh,
shipping,
definitely.
I found out later on the shipping was past the Mississippi River, not so much in California.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, let's talk about shipping a little bit. How has the imports and stuff and the rip-offs of your products affected you? Is that a big deal?
Yeah, it is.
How do you fight that? In other words, okay, so you build a product, you spend time R&D in it, you create a product, you take it to SEMA,
Right.
and China rips it off in a week and beats you by 100.
I've had them stand in front of my booth, start taking pictures of my products right in front of me.
And you know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and some of them, they even tried to be tricky and got belt buckles with cameras in them.
Wow.
They've done everything they can. They'll rip you off right there on the spot if they can.
And so how do you fight that? What is your message to people out there?
Well, we guarantee everything for life. They don't. Your only guarantee there is whoever sells it to you might give you another one.
Yeah.
Or I'll give you an example. My father was in the shoe industry. I think the shoe industry was the first thing to get killed in the United States. And it was all Europe that killed it, not China.
Yeah.
Like today, which everything's made in China. All your shoes are. In the shoe industry, the guarantee stopped at the dock. When my father was in business, they'd return stuff. And then you ate it. That's how they went out of business too. Imports have killed everything that's made here.
Usually when a guy is building, I'm talking about from the professional builder,
Right.
but especially the guy in his garage working on stuff. He doesn't have a huge budget. He can't afford to buy products 5 or 6 times. He needs to buy something good that's going to last the life of the vehicle.
And somebody will stand behind it. You know, we pay a lot of money for our tech guys, and they're on there all day long answering questions, and we stand behind everything we make. And that's something they can't do. They don't care about tech, and they don't care if it fits or works for you. If you go and have a problem with it, you got a problem with it. Sometimes guys call up and we're teching their product, which is not fair to us, you know.
No, but you guys are good about doing that. When the guy goes, hey, I'm looking at buying this, and it's like, well, that's a competitor that actually ripped my product off, but I'll tell you about it. No, that's good. So what's the future for LOKAR? What do you got coming out that's new and exciting?
Just working on more of the muscle cars and truck stuff. My oldest son wants to try and make some Jeep parts.
Oh, that's a
He's
big
a Jeep
market.
guy.
You know, that's the #1 modified vehicle out there. Second to the Mustang, or the Mustang is second. You got that backwards. The Jeep's first.
That's a little bit of a weird market, though, you know.
Yeah.
He was in the off-road for a while and basically wore out a Blazer, too much stuff on it, and rolled it over too many times. Nowadays, you got to be careful what you do. The guys fix them up, but they don't take them off-road. I think the side-by-sides help them out with that.
And not only that, there's already a lot of people in that place.
Yeah.
That off-road market's been around a long time. So we're getting ready to do a story on Skyjacker. Been in business 50 years.
Yeah, they've been around a long time. Smitty built roll bars was one of the first guys built roll bar kits.
Yeah.
I was a good friend of the owner of that. We used to hang out together.
Oh, yeah. That's very cool. Well, thank you for being on here. Next time you're in town, we'll have you drop in and we'll talk some more.
No problem. Glad to do it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I got a question for you out there. If you're working in your shop, what kind of tools are you using? Now, you're probably going to go, well, you know, whatever I got cheap, man. Are you kidding? Well, and that's the problem because, listen, we all grew up working with cheap tools. And my first set of tools, my dad got them at Kmart, got them for Christmas. And I used those things until there was nothing left. But that's all we had at the time. But as soon as I could, I started investing in good tools. And the reason it's not because you want to show them off to people, even though that's okay. It's because they allow you to do quality work. And there is nothing more frustrating. I have talked to gearheads all across the nation, around the world actually, and one of the biggest frustrations they have is either not having the right tool or breaking the tool they were using or having something strip or break or something, and almost every time it's because they don't have the right tool or they're not using a quality tool. So if you are into this, like I hope you are, you need to get some good tools, and that's where Cornwell Tools comes in. They're America's oldest tool manufacturer. They're still American made. I think that if you are going to build some stuff, if you invest in a good set of tools right off the top, you don't have to get everything, but just get yourself a nice set of hand tools and work from there. You will never regret it. And you can pass them down to your grandkids or whatever if you want to. But most car guys want to hold on to their tools as long as they can. Anyway, if you get a chance, check out Cornwell Tools. You will not be disappointed.
Okay, I love this question. This comes from Kristen, and she says, do you have any suggestions on getting a younger person into cars and trucks? Great question, Kristen. Yeah, I do have some suggestions, not just for young people, just anybody that's never been into cars and trucks before. Obviously, the first thing is get them around car people. Take them to car shows. Take them to car events, whether they be races or whatever. Check out car movies. Obviously, they're already showing an interest by watching, car movies or car shows or whatever. Another thing is get them into models or die casts. That's a great first way to just get an idea of how a car works and rolls around, and you especially start building models. You see suspensions and engines and that kind of thing. And then get them into a simple project. Now, this is where it gets a little more difficult because everybody wants to jump to the big project. They want to jump to what they're seeing on TV or in the movies or at the car shows or whatever. You have to really be careful with that because you can kill the enthusiasm of a person by overpowering them with what they want. The best illustration I can give you is a box of donuts. Just think, you got a nice, steamy, hot box of Krispy Kreme donuts sitting there in front of you, and you leave them in front of your kid, and you leave the room. What do you think's going to happen to that box of donuts? You think one's going to be gone? Yeah, you didn't grow up around our household, man. That whole box would be gone. You come in, the kid would be dancing on top of the box, screaming and yelling because they're gone. So somewhere around, somehow you have to control what a person wants and just get enough to them to keep them going, but not overdo it because they get in over their head. So this means that you don't get them a full-fledged project. You don't get them a full ground-up restoration. You don't start there. Once again, it's like a kid that wants to learn how to play guitar. You don't walk them in and start showing them Van Halen stuff. You start showing them the fundamentals. You show them where the strings are first and how to hold the thing. You got to get some fundamentals down. You got to get basic understanding of tools down before you can start doing anything, or they'll get hurt. So pick them up a simple project. Okay, what are those? Okay, we've covered them on the show. Go-karts, snowmobiles, lawnmowers, mini bikes, old tractors, just something that they can tinker on, that can get them moving down the road. Something to take an engine off of and put it on. Something that they can turn a wrench on. Weed eaters. Radio control models is a great way. Airplanes and cars is a great way to get into it. If you encourage them that way, they'll naturally just go there. But there is a way, and this as a parent, I assume this you're speaking as a parent, maybe not. But if you are, you're kind of the parent in the room. You have to make sure that you're encouraging them, but you're also showing them the reality part of it, not the reality show part of it, but it's just the reality part of it. That horsepower costs money. You can get yourself hurt real quick. You can, fire burns, wiring is dangerous. All these things. You just need to show them how to work with solvents and how that kind of thing. And man, they'll take off and they'll love it. The big thing, though, that's very important, and a lot of people forget this that get into a project, you have to have little victories along the way, or you'll get overwhelmed and you'll quit. Now, I'm going to repeat that. You have to have little victories along the way, or you'll get overwhelmed and you'll quit. And what happens, I liken this all the time. Building a car, working on a project, is a form of Mount Everest. And you don't just get to the top in one day. You have little plateaus every day that is a victory in itself. And so, say we're talking a go-kart. So the first thing that you want to do is maybe if it's an existing go-kart that's not running. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is get it running, get an engine on it. And that is maybe the first victory is just finding the right engine. And you can sit there and, it's like great, and he feels good about it, and he's got a victory there. He can sit back and tell his friends about. Then the next one is just putting the engine on the cart, whether it's welding or drilling or whatever, that's a victory. And each one of those steps encourages him to go on to the next step to see it get finished. But if there's just too many steps and you don't know where to start, you don't know what to do and you quit. And I'm talking a lot of professional or adult car people fall into this. They get that project vehicle, they bring it home, and they tear it all apart because that's fun. And then they sit there and they look at all the zillions of pieces and all the hours and time and money it's going to take. And they're like, I think I'm going to sell it. I've bought many vehicles like that. The 40 Chevy that we're doing right now was that kind of project. It was a project for 20-some years or more. Somebody pulled that thing apart, who knows how long ago, and started buying really good parts to put in it, and no one ever built it. So when I got it, it had 20, 25-year-old parts that were brand new, but are now obsolete because they're old, but they're new, if that makes sense. So, and that's a shame. That's a shame that nobody ever put some of that stuff on there and gotten any enjoyment out of the car. So what you want to do is make sure that doesn't happen. So encourage them along. Make sure they don't get into something that's over their head, something they can finish up in a timely manner, and then they can move on to the next one. So what in reality you're doing, going back to the donuts, is you're giving them one donut at a time. And they eventually get all the donuts like they wanted in the first place. It just takes them a week or 2 weeks or, whatever they can handle. So that's the best thing to do. If you do that, what it will really do too, and this is so important, is it will put you, the parent, in the project with the kid. That is so important, especially for you fathers out there. It'll get, because I know you want to be out there working with them anyway. So what that'll do is it'll get you involved in the project, and you'll have some great memories and some great times together. We feature a lot of those on the What Are You Working On segments of the show because it's so cool, and it's a very special time for a parent, mother or father, to be involved with their kid messing with a car or truck.
All right, that's our show for today, which means you need to get out there and start working on something. Spend some time turning wrenches. You might be surprised how much you like it. Make sure you check out our website, staceydavid.com, because we've got all kinds of new products and some other great stuff that you're just going to love. Also, make sure to check out our social media. That's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all at Official Stacey David. Our social media is where you're going to find all of the bonus content, the giveaways, the contests, the trivia. We even have extra viewer projects that focus on what you are working on. Also, the new season of Gears will be on MAV TV, and YouTube will be the place that you can view all of your favorite Gears episodes, as well as the full project builds that follow the project from beginning to end. Make sure to check out our new Gears coffee cars. This is a unique blend of coffee and cool stickers to collect that will appeal to anyone.
But the most important thing is get out there and turn some wrenches yourself. Get a project, start working on it, and if you don't have tools, check out Cornwell. They can help you out there.
All right, that's all the announcements. We're all up to date. We'll see you next time.